This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. I think Meghan Markle might be back at it again, talking to Star Magazine, with this story on the cover: Royals caught in spy scandal. So, this story is based off of reporting that came out of the UK regarding new released FBI files that named Prince Philip in them surrounding the Profumo affair sex scandal. We're going to get to this scandal in a second because I find the story absolutely fascinating. But for our purposes now, we're going to go over this star cover story and talk about what is really going on with the positioning here and why it was done. Keep in mind, it's a well-known fact that Star Magazine is Megsy's go-to to leak stories to, so I would not put it past her to be behind this to make it look like the royal family is doing piss poor without them, and I see it as Meghan and Harry's way of attacking the family once again. But I'll let you decide. So here I go. It's one of Britain's most notorious political scandals of the 20th century, the Profumo affair. The 1960s public imbroglio involved UK Secretary of State for War John Profumo's relationship with teenager Christine Keeler, a model who was intimately involved with a Soviet naval attaché, a connection with national security implications that ultimately brought down government leaders and cost a man his life. For decades, it's been speculated that Prince Philip, the late Queen Elizabeth II's husband of 73 years, was linked to some of the main players. Now, more than 50 years later, that royal rumor has finally been verified. On July 20th, a UK news outlet reported that following 5 years of digging U.S. Freedom of Information laws, a cable sent from then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover to the U.S. Embassy in London in June 1963 confirmed that one of the spy's agency informants told the FBI that Philip was, quote-unquote, involved with Keeler and another model named in the sex scandal. I'd like to pause right here and say that the way that Star Magazine wrote this is completely inaccurate. So according to The Independent and other news sources in the UK, dated around July 22nd, was that the cable sent to the U.S. Embassy in London, dated on June 20th, 1963, reads, Corbally also stated there was a rumor Prince Philip may have been involved with these two girls. The second girl referred to was Mandy Rice Davies, a fellow showgirl who was also at the heart of the scandal. So I'm going to pause here and say that it was rumored, but there has been no evidence whatsoever that Prince Philip was involved with these two girls. It was a rumor, like many other rumors that had been started by Fleet Street. And I'll show you some of that information from the FBI declassified documents. Here in these newspaper articles, they don't show this cable that was sent that they have uncovered. So we're not really sure if this reporting is even accurate as well. But now getting back to this article, you're going to see now how this shifts into attacking the royal family, which is why I feel like this came from Meghan and Harry's camp. The article continues and it says, the news is the latest blow to a monarchy that's already struggling. Amid family infighting, Prince Harry, 39, remains estranged from brother Prince William, 42, and has had limited contact with father King Charles III, 75. Since moving to America in 2020, the firm's popularity has plummeted. A recent UK poll revealed that this year, public support for the institution fell below 50% for the first time ever. The monarchy is in a precarious place, a source tells Star. Meghan. Let's pause for a quick second. So they put up this random statistic here with no citing of where they found this poll. I mean, does anybody believe that the monarchy is not doing well in the sense of popularity? I think it's the quite opposite. I think ever since Meghan and Harry showed themselves, the monarchy is more popular than ever. Anyhow, nearly 2 years into his reign, Charles is doing his best to restore the royal family's image, but there's only so much he can do, especially with his health the way it is. There's a feeling that If enough people believe the rumor about Philip, it could hurt the whole institution, which is in a weakened state, with both King and William's widely beloved wife, Princess Catherine, undergoing cancer treatment right now. And here's why I feel like Meghan and Harry are behind this article. We know that they have a habit of using the dead who can't speak anymore to make their point. So in this case, they're using Prince Philip, knowing that he fully cannot come back and defend himself because he's no longer here with us. Harry has done this several times over with the Queen by making statements that cannot be verified. So, here in this situation, making the claim that this could actually hurt the institution, let me ask the question, how? He's passed away. Christine Keeler's passed away. I mean, pretty much everybody in this scandal has passed away. What's going to come of it? Absolutely nothing, aside from attacking the family in a tabloid magazine to make them look bad. And this is where I see Meghan and Harry being behind it. But the attacks continue as it proceeds on to say a vulgar attack. Charles is no stranger to sex scandals. His own relationship with his second wife, mistress turned Queen Camilla, made headlines in the 90s amid his divorce from the beloved Princess Diana, who was killed in a Paris car crash at 36 in 1997. He spent years rehabilitating his image as well as that of Camilla, the infamous third person in his ill-fated marriage to Diana. It was an uphill climb to finally win acceptance and a measure of respect, says the source. But now the family is being rocked yet again by this tawdry story involving Philip. Some worry if Charles has the strength to fight it. Will he even bother? It's no secret that Philip was a bit of a ladies' man who appreciated good looks as well as character and intelligence, admits the source, Meghan. But Charles and William both refused to believe he would stoop so low as this. It's upsetting to them that people persist in spreading rumors and innuendo about the royal family and expect them to respond. The king also finds the British media's gotcha approach 3 years after Philip's death at 99 shameful. The royals find it absurd that Philip could have been involved in the Profumo affair. Charles is aware his father was not a saint, but to implicate him in this scandal years after his death, when he's no longer around to defend himself, is appalling, adds the source. The palace has denied time and time again that Philip had any connection to the Profumo scandal's key players and continue to do so. Well, that was my point that I made earlier. Like, what's the point of bringing this up if his name was mentioned in one of these cables, allegedly? And it's also a rumor. Like, there's no evidence connecting Philip there unless you're trying to trash the family, which is exactly what's going on here. You know, this is an American magazine. Like, why would we care about this? It's likely the late Queen's never complain, never explain philosophy will be the default approach here. There have been serious discussions behind closed doors at the palace on how they're going to deal with all the negative press, says the source, Meghan. I mean, think about that. Where is all the negative press coming from? Isn't it Meghan and Harry? The hope is that the scandal will blow away since the Profumo affair happened so long ago, though that might also be wishful thinking. In my opinion, this story is not going to get any traction here in the United States. The only reason why I'm talking about it is because I talk about the royals, and when I see a cover from an American tabloid, of which we know Meghan is a contributor and leaks stories to, you have to wonder, is she behind this hit piece against the family? That's why I'm talking about it. So the article continues after they attack King Charles, they go on to attack Prince Andrew, in which it says problematic prince. It doesn't help that, despite Elizabeth's state example, sex scandals have repeatedly plagued the royal family. In addition to Charles's affair with Camilla, memorialized by his cringy tampon gate recording, Diana's infidelities, which came in response to his cheating, also marked a dark period for the firm. More recently, they've been unable to shake their Prince Andrew problem. Andrew's sleazy association with the PD file Jeffrey Sleazy E is a stain that won't go away, laments the source, Meghan. In 2019, the 64-year-old Duke of York was forced to step down from royal duties after giving a car crash interview about his friendship with the financier who died by suicide, allegedly, while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. In 2022, he settled a civil lawsuit brought by Sleazy's victim, Virginia Giuffre, 41, who for years claimed she'd been forced to have sex with the prince when she was 17. Though Andrew denied it, he's even insisted he never met Virginia, despite being photographed with her in 2001. He paid her a reported $16 million, though made no admission of guilt. The Andrew situation remains a mess, says the source, Megan. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong. And finally, finishing up on this article, even though it's supposed to look like they're coming across ending on a positive note, to me, there's a couple of things that stand out. It's the things that are not being said, which leads me to believe Meghan and Harry once again are behind it. As it says, saving the firm. With the family's diminishing number of senior royals and the king's ongoing health crisis, one thing has become clear. The future of the monarchy rests with William, says the source, who believes the Philip drama is the last thing he and Catherine need as they work to rebuild respect for the royal institution. I didn't know that they lost respect. I think they have more respect for how they handled the dastardly duo. But if you notice at the very beginning here, with the family's diminishing number of senior royals, you know that they're talking about Meghan and Harry. They think this story is going to add more pressure onto William and Catherine, but it was already a nothing burger in the UK. So why would it be any big deal here in the US? Aside from putting this out there into the American public to tarnish the reputation of the royal family. And that's exactly what is going on here. In recent weeks, the Prince and Princess of Wales took an unprecedented step towards building bridges within the UK by announcing that they're seeking to hire a new private secretary who speaks Welsh and has specific expertise on Welsh communities so that they can increase their royal impact for themselves and their 3 children, future King George 11, Charlotte 9, and 6-year-old Louis, in their namesake UK nation, as well as in Scotland and Northern Ireland. They faced challenges before, but the fact that the monarchy is suffering is worrying to them, says the source. With William, the heir to the throne, and Catherine's Britain's most popular royal, they feel it's up to them to save the monarchy at this point, and that's a huge responsibility. But what other choice do they have? I hope some of you can see what they did here. So, what choice do they have? Oh, Meghan and Harry to the rescue! You notice they didn't mention anything about the Commonwealth. Not only has this American magazine that Meghan Markle leaked stories to made it look like the institution is in complete shambles, it also has diminished the footprint of the reign for William and Catherine. It's not only those locations that they will be reigning over. Why did they omit that? It begs to ask the question, are they going to continue to keep doing this to make it look like the royal family doesn't have influence in the world? Good luck, Meghan. But this truly was disgusting, in my opinion. I guess the only benefit that I found from this article is finding out about this scandal that happened in 1963, which I had no idea about. So after reading this article, I went ahead and did some fact checking, which looking at the articles that were printed recently, and then going into the FBI declassified vault and really read what this was all about. So for those that don't know, the Profumo affair was really a British political scandal which suggested that national security might have been breached. The person at the center of this affair was John Profumo, who was the Minister of War. In March of 1963, he had told Parliament that he had not had any improper relationship with a call girl prostitute, Christine Keeler. In June, it emerged that she had been his mistress while having a similar relationship with Lieutenant Commander Ivanov, an assistant naval attaché at the Soviet embassy in London. In response to the public outcry that followed, Profumo resigned from Parliament. The resulting inquiry by Lord Denning concluded that national security had not been compromised. However, the affair weakened Prime Minister Macmillan, who was criticized for not having investigated Profumo fully, and it contributed to an atmosphere of sleaziness and decadence at the end of a long period of conservative government. So, how did John Profumo get wrapped up with this 19-year-old prostitute, Christine Keeler? So, in July of 1961, at a party at Cliveden home of Viscount Astor, who was friends with Steve Ward, seen there, John Profumo met Christine Keeler. So, what has been reported recently in July of 2024 was this guy, Thomas Corbally, who was an American businessman involved in industrial espionage, alerted the FBI to Phillips' alleged association to the scandal. So it says here, a memo was written by FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, sent to the U.S. Embassy in London in June 1963, and made publicly in July 2024. I don't think this is accurate. In my opinion, I think the British media lied on this story because in all the articles that were written about this in July of this year, none of them show the actual copy of this new FBI file containing Prince Philip's name. None of them do. Being that this case or scandal was declassified, any information pertaining to it would have been filed away in one of these vaults, especially if they're giving it freely to journalists, it would become public information. So today I took the liberty to go through each vault to look for this cable that the British media talks about newly having in their possession with Philip's name. And let me tell you something, the only thing that I found that was remotely close to what the media was reporting was this cable. And I believe that they took this cable and fabricated this story and put it in the media, all to attack the royal family. As you can see, dated in June, Thomas Corbally told Ambassador's Office January 29th that Keeler and Margaret Davis, known as Top Call Girls, that they had sold article to a Sunday paper listing men with whom they spent the night. One was Profumo and the other was a Russian naval officer. Corbally said Profumo had taken both girls to Lord Astor's where they swam naked in pool. Corbally said Prime Minister was advised of this on January 28th. Press stories state Corbally has denied knowing Keeler. What I found really eye-opening as I read through this case was discovering how freaky deaky these aristocrats, politicians, and wealthy businessmen truly are. In this case, every weekend there was like a party or dinner, and then right after it, there were orgies going on. So, could this have been a situation where sexual blackmail was involved? Absolutely. I truly believe that that is what was really going on with this spy and what was happening with the politician. And I mean, this has been going on for decades. I mean, look at Sleazy E. That it was like the next level to it. A good example of this case here is this letter from the FBI director where it says, for info, John Profumo was British War Minister until his recent resignation following disclosure of his relations with Christine Keeler. Stephen Ward, London osteopath, has been arrested in London charged with living on earnings of Keeler and Marilyn Rice Davies, prostitutes. Ward operations reportedly part of a large vice ring involving many people, including many prominent people in U.S. and England, including other ministers of British cabinet, not yet identified. Other individuals involved include Ivanov, aka Eugene Ivanov, former Soviet naval attaché. And then it says right below it, Thomas J. Corbally, U.S. citizen in business in the U.S. as well as England, who reportedly ran sex orgies in his London flat. Then there was this. This was like some communication with the FBI from Novanti, who was the lead of this sex ring, in which she did an interview with News of the World, and she states party where a man appeared in the nude except for mask was at her house. She says he had on short striped pants and black mask. He was not a politician or connected with government in any way, but was from a titled family, according to her. She states in an article it has been suggested that while in New York, she knew men who were friends of high placed politicians. She says this is true, and if either the FBI or MI5 want to talk to her, she will cooperate. In the actual write up by the UK Justice on the events that led to JD Profumo's resignation, this is what was said about these parties. It says here, this was the story as told by Marilyn Rice Davies to the police and signed by her on June 14, 1963. About 6 people have told me indulges in weird sexual practices and has been to parties where he wore a mask. Stephen has told me this and other girls whose names I cannot remember, and it is common talk among Fleet Street reporters. The story found its way into newspapers in this country and also in countries abroad where it was said that a prominent public figure was the man in the mask. Number 322. There is a great deal of evidence which satisfied me that there is a group of people who hold parties in private of a perverted nature. At some of these parties, the man who serves the dinner is nearly naked except for a small square lace apron around his waist, such as a waitress might wear. He wears a black mask over his head with slits for eye holes. He cannot, therefore, be recognized by any of the guests. Some reports stop there and say that nothing evil takes place. It is done as a comic turn and no more. This may well be at some of the parties, but at others I am satisfied that it is followed by perverted sex orgies, that the man in the mask is a slave who is whipped. The guests undress and indulge in sexual intercourse one with the other and indulge in other sexual activities of vile and revolting nature. No doubt in my mind that Andrew went to a few of these parties, but do I think Philip was involved in these types of parties? No. Do I think that he was involved with hanging out with prostitutes? No. I mean, come on now. Perhaps maybe hanging out at dinner parties with Viscount Astor, obviously, because he's part of the aristocracy. But who knows? I mean, these wealthy elites, they're so twisted at times. I mean, the things that you hear, it's so hard to believe. But when you read stuff like this, you can actually begin to understand how warped their mind must be. But in any case, what do you guys think? Do you think that there's any truth to this so called new information with Philip's name listed in it? Or do you agree with me here that this is all trying to slander the royal family again? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
I was such a fraud.